कैसे हैं आप सब लोग। वेलकम है आपका पाकि नियाजी रिएक्ट्स में। और आज हम लोग रिएक्ट करने वाले हैं जॉर्जिया पे। चलिए शुरू करते हैं। तो गाइस हम लोग आज रिएक्ट करेंगे वाई टू ट्रैवल जॉर्जिया, टॉप 10 थिंग्स वी डू इन जॉर्जिया। तो आज का जो हमारा क्रेडिट जाता है वो लोज को जाता है। ठीक है, इनका मैं लिंक अपलोड कर दूंगा नीचे, आप इनको जाके फॉलो कर सकते हैं। और ये बहुत ही अच्छी वीडियोस बनाते हैं ट्रैवल्स के हिसाब से। तो चलिए शुरू करते हैं।
What's up, beautiful people? Today's video is all about Georgia. It's beautiful, it's friendly, it's delicious, it's exhilarating, and I think it should be right at the top of your travel list.
वाह, कितनी प्यारी जगह है, बहुत ही प्यारी जगह है और क्या नज़ारा है। देखिए खाने कैसे हैं। और ये
After a month-long trip all around Georgia, I'm going to be talking about the top 10 things that we love the most while traveling this country and why you should go there ASAP. Number one is Tbilisi, the amazing capital city and honestly one of my favorite cities in the world now. It's got good food, beautiful views, and it's got so many opportunities for exploration. Wow. But it still feels manageable, it still feels relaxed, and it doesn't feel like you can go too far wrong by spending a few days there. You can get a cable car up to a centuries-old fortress, or a funicular up to an old Soviet theme park, or you can spend time exploring back streets and the hipster areas with paintings and graffiti all over.
देखिए यार कितना प्यारे तरीके से आर्ट को, बिल्डिंग को सजाया हुआ है, बहुत ही प्यारा नज़ारा है।
And even stay in one of the
यहाँ पे मैं जरूर तस्वीर बनाना चाहूँगा।
These hipster areas in one of the most famous hostels in all of Europe called Fabrica, or you can do like we opted to and stay in the old town with its narrow winding streets on the side of the hill.
प्यारा डॉग, वाओ चेक करो यार क्या।
Next up we've got the mountains. Honestly, the best days that we had were spent in the mountains. We hiked, we got 4x4s, we went to
hiking
glaciers, we went over ridges. The views were insane, and the rugged beauty of Georgia is pretty unparalleled in my mind. I haven't traveled to anywhere quite like it, where you'll have the wild horses and the wild cows walking past you, or you'll be crossing over glacial streams coming down from further up the mountain. You can't talk about a trip to Georgia and not talk about the mountains.
कितना ही प्यारे तरीके से बनाई है वीडियो, और बहुत ही प्यारी जगह है यार। हाँ देखो, वाओ।
Number 3
Amazing.
is the food, and it really was some of the best food I've had on my travels. If you like cheese and you like bread, then Georgia absolutely has you covered.
मेरा भी favorite है।
Our favorite was probably the khachapuri, which is, well, it comes in many different ways, but our absolute favorite was this kind of boat of bread filled with cheese and an egg yolk and butter. And I mean, it probably isn't good for the heart and the arteries, but it is just so good for the soul. Another of my favorites was ojahuri, which is a pork dish with fried potatoes and onions and peppers and spices. It was just so tasty. We also tried khinkali, which is this dumpling dish, and they can be filled with meat or cheese.
डम्पलिंग अपने भी फेवरेट है यार, मैं बहुत मजे से खाता हूँ, मुझे बहुत पसंद है डम्पलिंग खाना।
Potato, and in general I'd say it's a good place to travel if you're a vegetarian, because a lot of the dishes are based around the bread or the cheese or the really fresh salad, and there are a lot of meat dishes if that's what you're after as well, but it's not difficult to stay away from the meat at all. I also really back the wine ice cream that we tried.
Ice cream.
And that brings us nicely on to number 4, the wine. It's cheap and it's really good. In some restaurants we'd pay 10 lari, or around £3 for a litre of homemade wine.
ये लगता है कल्चरल डांस है कोई, Wow, बहुत ही प्यारा है
that
यार.
tasted really, really good. Kakheti is the most famous wine producing region in the country and is only a few hours from Tbilisi and can even be done on a day trip. When we went, we stayed.
वैसे बहुत ही प्यारी जगह है तबलीसी और खाने के हिसाब से बहुत प्यारी जगह है यार.
There
मतलब
for a
अच्छा
few
है
nights and stayed in the city of love, Signagi.
अच्छा यहाँ पे जो चलती है वो लारी है. अच्छा ये करेंसी है.
We went on a wine tasting trip and it was just set amongst the beautiful hillsides and it was just absolutely delicious. But of course we can't mention the wine without mentioning the chacha, which you will have to try if you're in Georgia. It's a Georgian brandy which we don't really know the percentage of, but we've heard it can be over 60%, and we were even given it by some of our hosts as shots that we had alongside our breakfast.
ये लोगों के लिए तो कोई वो नहीं है, लेकिन अच्छा है enjoy करने के लिए.
Number 5 is the affordability. We'd pay £10 per person per night for a really nice guest house, and you can get a decent meal with wine for less than £3 per person. If you're willing to go for bakery items for lunch or for getting bread for your hikes, then
इतना बड़ा bread,
it can be under £1 for your meal, and you will be as full as anything. Another reason why it's so affordable is because a lot of the activities you'll be doing will be free because you'll be hiking. Hiking in the mountains, walking around cities, doing not much other than walking and eating, so you can keep it quite cheap. Transport between towns often costs only a few pounds, and in Tbilisi it is 50 cents or 13p to do one journey on the metro.
Wow.
Next up is the history. Georgia was the second Christian country in the world and also claims to have the oldest wine producing region of anywhere on the planet. Other than this, there's a huge amount of other history with its cave towns and more recently its Soviet roots. Stalin was actually born in Georgia in a town called Gori, which is only an hour away from Tbilisi, and a lot of people visit to go to the museum. We didn't end up going in, but we did enjoy visiting the Soviet theme parks that were on hilltops in different towns in the country.
बहुत ही प्यारे तरीके से बनाई हुई वीडियो और बहुत ही प्यारी जगह है यार. यहाँ पे क्या क्या नहीं मिलता यार. बहुत अच्छे ब्रेड, मतलब कि ये जाने वाली जगह है यार.
Number 7 is the opportunity for adventure in Georgia. Our single best experience of the whole trip, if not our whole lives, was when we flung ourselves off a mountain and went paragliding over the stunning mountain ranges of Georgia. Other than this, you can see ice and rocks falling from a glacier, get in a 4x4 and go on an adventure up a mountain, or go on beautiful hikes over precarious ridges. I guess another adventure that you can have is jumping in a taxi, where you'll be in an old rusting Lada and have a driver that wants to race up the side of a mountain seemingly as close to the edge as possible. And that brings us on to number 8, the journeys. They say that when you travel, it's not always about reaching the destination, but about the journey to get there. And that is definitely the case when you're traveling in Georgia. We got a train that took us across the whole country, and for the entirety of the
अच्छा तो पूरे मतलब के जॉर्जिया में ट्रेन से अगर ट्रैवल करे तो अच्छा है.
journey, there were just mountains passing by the window. If you're traveling by car or by bus, you shouldn't be surprised if you see lots of animals just in the middle of the road, or if you have to come to a sudden stop because there's a group of cows that you can't quite get around.
किया जाता है और ये बहुत अच्छी चीज है. थोड़ा क्लीन तो नहीं है, मैं ये नहीं कहूँगा कि बहुत क्लीन है,
the experience of traveling in Georgia. Next up is the people. When you arrive in Georgia, you'll be met with open arms, and you can really sense this feeling that to have a visitor
लगता है बहुत फ्रेंडली लोग हैं. जॉर्जिया के लोग बहुत फ्रेंडली लगते हैं.
is to have a gift from God. You'll arrive at guest houses, they'll welcome you in, and then the next morning you'll be given a huge breakfast with 10 plates of different things, and you'll have to try and sample all of it, but believe me, there will be no way that you will finish absolutely everything.
How's breakfast? A feast! Oh my gosh, how much is it? Jeez!
इतना सारा ब्रेकफास्ट और सुबह में. जॉर्जिया के लोग बहुत फ्रेंडली हैं और लगता है बहुत क्या कहते हैं उसको, मेहमान नवाज है.
That is so much.
We were walking through Tbilisi one day and we made a new friend called Eric, who saw that we were visitors to the town and asked us where we were going. We didn't quite know where a market was, so he took us with him and he led us directly to the market, explaining a little bit more about his country and explaining different items when we finally got to the market. And another day we were just walking through Kutaisi, another town in Georgia, when a lady just walked up to us and gave us a karalioki, a local fruit, and then just told us it was for us and walked off. But perhaps my all-time favorite interaction that we had while we were in the country was when we were hiking in Svaneti and a man called us over when we shouted Gamma Jabba or hello, and he tried to teach us how to scythe.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm made for work in the fields.
It didn't go too well. And number 10, the dogs. There is no way that I could have finished this video without mentioning our furry four-legged friends who welcomed us just as much as all of the humans that we encountered on our travels around Georgia. There were so many stray dogs, but what was nice was that these stray dogs weren't treated as a nuisance, but there was almost a sense of shared ownership over these dogs, and they would be fed and they would be looked after and they would be stroked and they would be loved, and we definitely did our best to give a lot of love to the dogs because they were fantastic. We made friends with dogs that would hike with us, we made friends with dogs that would stay with us just for a few moments, and on our last day we made friends with Tilly, who I almost didn't leave Georgia because she was so fantastic. But there you have it. They are the 10 things that we loved the most during our travels in Georgia. If you want to see any more of these experiences in greater detail, then please do check out the huge vlog series that I created from our time in the country.
Well guys, अगर आपको वीडियो अच्छी लगी हो तो लाइक कीजिए, कमेंट कीजिए और फॉलो कीजिए, कमेंट कीजिए, सब्सक्राइब कीजिए। मिलते हैं अगली वीडियो के साथ। बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया।